soon. Unicode thing.
Mm-hmm.
Unicode has been annoying me for some time.
Right.
All the random.
Yeah, it has lots of random things.
We should consider just coming up with some random ones and submitting them. Like I want one of my own as well. Because if everyone can get one, why not me?
Is there anything else that we need to discuss about stickers, emoji, or
So if we had these pieces, is there anything in Slack or Whisper system that we can help with?
so stuff that we discussed? We have references, so we can embed, record arbitrary media types.
Audio,
We
audio.
have storage.
Recording audio.
Yeah.
Media, small
Media.
bits of media for doing emoji and stickers.
Audio, I turned our YouTube back on, stream back on, so it's recording. It keeps dying.
At least with the HTTP upload spec,
Just audio for now.
we have storage space for large files to just share.
Right.
Although there's some stuff with HTTP upload that I would prefer to see changed, but we can discuss that.
Same.
Bit. That is mostly it in terms of getting most of the user experience. I mean, Slack added reactions, which we technically can do because this guy submitted a message attachment thing where you can attach things to a previous message.
Right.
That works great in live stuff or going through and doing history requests that they're not going to come along with it unless you page through and find everything.
Well, a smarter implementation. Good.
It'd have to be a smarter man application.
A smarter man implementation could if you do something like that.
Right.
The
Same for-
possibility exists.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much.
So if we had these, we would have some pretty clean, reusable pieces that allow what we want.
And as far as the HTTP upload one goes, other than the headers, the big piece that I think is missing is the URIs that it returns are necessarily to the actual file that you uploaded. So for example, think in Slack or Imager, any sort of actual product, you don't want to just serve up the file itself. You want to serve up something wrapping it.
Right.
So having a client get a URL and just thinking you can blindly download it and save it to disk is not going to work.
Right.
And the HTTP upload thing doesn't handle that case. And then Ralph is saying other stuff is last message correction is last message, not arbitrary. Editing the spec specifically says it is only for last messaging unless other negotiation is done.
I always dislike that. That's such an artificial limitation.
Yeah. And other thing that Slack and some of the others can do, I know, is message retraction. You can have a moderator or someone or yourself remove message.
Which is just map deletion.
Well, and also live.
Live, so that's the thing. It has always annoyed me that MAM and the live stream are disconnected.
Yeah, I agree. I always just wonder why live stream isn't just MAM.
Because MAM didn't exist from the live stream.
Well, right, but in future world, now that we have it,
Basically, why is it
you
not?
subscribe and you get messages pushed to you from the archive. And if you
So
disconnect
that
and go
was
back,
originally what I envisioned, and I started on it, but then Carbon beat me to it. And then now we've got Carbon's.
actually, that's a good topic. So I Carbon's, yes, I know this is a contentious one. Carbon's,
Let me catch up.
oh, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so.
This doesn't necessarily need to be recorded, so I'm gonna keep going, because it's just, or it doesn't need to be notated, but like, because Carbon's works great right now in the real world for the very small use case that it supports. And I think the only reason people said MAM doesn't do it is there was something missing, right? You can't think what it was, there was some reason it could not be Carbon's.
Well, if you can subscribe to a mem archive, you're pretty much good except for backcompat as in normal streams. We didn't have, I think, if I recall right, a mechanism to decide, okay, these are how these two streams merge. So this message in the mem archive maps to this message here, so that you can query from that point forward and such.
Yeah. So I would love
think
that.
that was the thesis.
I would love that to be completed so that we could deprecate one day carbons, and
I would like that.
That'd be awesome.
I would like that because in my mind, it's always a stream of messages that you can add to and potentially delete from. And you should have the ability for a client to keep things in sync with that logical representation of the stream on the server side.
I think the other problem might have been, correct me if I'm wrong, that not everything gets stored by MAM all the time, but that some things that get carbon would not be stored by MAM. I can't think what, but I vaguely remember something about that.
I think we were going through that some time back. So in the muck use case specifically, you had normal, like the muck group chat messages in MAM. We had weird things around private messages and how those live together.
Yeah.
And the direct messages, which are just out of band from muck. So you could still, in theory, do all of that using MAM.
That'd be so nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like that.
It'd be great.
And apparently my brain cannot do two things at once. It was just said. I was like, is that just?
I'm sorry.
So we're deprecating carbons.
Just going back to
It's
history.
all this MAM now. No more direct messages from it.
It's not
But we
gonna
do need to fix that, whatever fix those random issues. 'Cause that's the only reason I keep pushing for carbons forward. Not because I especially like it, because I really do think that needs to be the solution, but just because carbons works today for some subset of the problems we're trying to solve.
I'm no longer interested in pursuing maps. I just don't see the point. At the end of the day, it just gets us slightly nicer integrated protocol, but practical difference, I don't think that.
Well, the reason I like that is because the current protocol is a specialized hack, I would say, while the MAM sub approach is extendable to other things where anything which is a list of things that you can subscribe to, MAM works with, including things like PubSub and so on.
But
Because we have multiple different subscription mechanisms that are just different for very trivial reasons. They don't necessarily need to be, and MAMSub in my mind is like a unifying thing that does things in one way, supports multiple different use cases.
the only other kind of consideration I can think of here is the other reason the benefit I think Carbons has is that from an implementation standpoint as a developer, if I have to implement all of MAM, that's just to get Carbons type features. That's a much bigger, more complicated, difficult thing to wrap my head around and do than just Carbons, which is small, self-contained. And I sort of like that, but MAM also kind of solves a superset of the problems that Carbons does. So I don't know if that's.
Well, the other issue with Carbons is it does complicate things quite a bit when it comes in terms of its interaction with other apps. Stream management is an interesting zap. So what we don't do in Procedure today, and I don't think most servers do, is proper handling of offline messages, for example, when it comes to Carbons. As in, instead of we handle it well or we don't handle it, we just ignore that. That's the thing. Same for other things. Anything at all that Carbon interacts with, the interaction is generally awkward. Whether that's history, whether that's any other thing. And then we have exclusions like, okay, you don't do it for monk messages. Okay, I think we got a bit distracted.
Sorry, yeah. That might actually be a good working working test we could do though. If we wanted to just kind of print off a big, I guess that excludes the people, but if we wanted to print off a big thing of man and just go through it and
I think that would be useful.
yeah, mark it up, and I don't know if that's actually, it's kind of off topic, not something we'd originally planned, but I like this discussion. So,
With maps, notes, annotations, and so on as well.
Yes, for men, I've got lots of
Lots of
stuff that
notes.
I need to merge into the actual spec.
Oh.
So I was looking through the book to see if there's anything. Is this a total conversation topic change?
I mean, we were discussing this related thing, so,
This is just about details. I was looking through to see if there's anything that we need to discuss. I don't think so, except when we the problem with 313 is that there's been a lot of back and forth. We've had features in, taken them out, put them in, taken them out.
yes.
We switched to instead of using the IQ result to signal the end of the result set, we switched to messages, and we added this fin element. And now we've switched back to IQ, but the fin element is still in there. And I don't know if it makes sense. So do we take it out? Don't we?
So I think that always
It would be nice because clients already have it like implemented. It'd be a minimal change to keep it in there, but it's now an ugly protocol and it's not even drafted.
well, that is the case, and one of the things that I don't know if it has or hasn't happened. At least I was not involved in it. Have we had a proper kind of requirements conversation around that? In that we did have that. We did have that for mix last time, where we decided, okay, these are the things we're missing, and this is why we're doing it this way. If with man we had that at an initial point, and then we kept tacking things on. We never had a proper thought out conversation. Okay, this is the actual requirement. This is why carbons is good or bad, because it does or does not meet those requirements.
I'd love to have that discussion in the mindset that what if we said, all right, if we were writing story
Starting
entries,
from
start over
scratch,
from
let's not even
scratch.
worry about XMPP. What
Right.
are the actual requirements?
And I don't want to start from scratch, but just do it and see how those line up with
Yes.
what man actually does. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yes.
If people would like to discuss that. I'm actually going to print a copy of man because it's doing the exact same thing I was doing earlier. And I'm going cross-eyed. Would anyone like one? Or print a couple if that's easier to mark up or. Cool. We're back.
Okay, so the discussion that was happening at the same time, then the chat markers. Did everyone see that?
I did not.
So Ralph brought up one of the other things that Slack had was the red state, or maybe not necessarily Slack, but like iMessage has the delivered red state.
Right.
So yes, chat markers is there, can do that. Kev has a different approach that it works in combination with man and carbons, so you can get better synchronized state.
Yes. Yes. Okay. See. Yeah, that makes sense.
So Aaron wants me to speak in a higher voice.
Is Ralph actually on? Because he is frozen.
I don't think so. The only people in the Jitsi room right now are myself, that laptop over there, and somebody else we haven't identified, with no audio or video.
Okay.
Did the same thing earlier when I tried a screen share, and it just stayed on that for a while.
wonder why.
Yeah, once conferencing works reliably across the board, we will be in the future.
That's okay. Any other system doesn't work all
Yep,
the time either.
that is true. That is true.
Even telecoms
Hmm.
still has problems.
Yeah, I think like the most time wasting activity, even though it's probably not the most, but the most perceived time wasting activity has been just meetings, where people are we are spending the first 5-10 minutes just figuring out how to make someone's audio work and so on.
Yes.
Okay, I lost track of what we were doing.
Just me, or did everyone leave the summit room?
No, I see everyone in the summit room when we send a message.
We're only getting,
You get my message.
I get yours, yeah, okay.
You may want to leave everything.
Yeah. Well, I got disconnected and then,
Okay, yeah.
not supposed to do that. We're hearing it too.
We don't see
Anything
any
but
of
not
them.
seeing.
Maybe you should, we're doing the stream.
Oh,
I can restart the stream if we wanna.
Okay, you wanna refresh?
You right that. Alright. Alright. It's not there. A little stream icon's gone.
Or we know it's still,
So,
yeah,
yeah, I'm getting the connection.
okay, cool.
which would make sense because the
We're still
virtual
there.
client that's doing the stream never left because it's just you refreshing.
Right, yep, that makes good sense.
That's a nice feature. I never got nearly.
Was somebody trying to share screen shares?
I think Rob was trying to share something.
Yep.
I can just ask him.
Well, can you talk?
Wonder if we got on the, I think there's still an open bug where sometimes you get routed to like somebody gets to US West and somebody gets to US East and they don't actually know how to.
Well, things showing that he is talking, but we're not getting any audio.
Oh. It's a bit of this.
Oh. Okay, you're back.
No. All right. Ping the video room and see if one of them can kick it. Oh, our Wi-Fi was also just. So. Yeah.
We can't hear you, Ralph.
Should I try joining from my laptop given that I'm not on the Wi-Fi? Rather, actually.
Yeah, we could give it a shot.
Wi-Fi or something. I can give it a shot.
Does anybody mind if I deliver medication?
I do not.
Was anybody squeamish with needles? That's the question.
Needles are very.
Okay. Makes it easy for me.
Could be taken inappropriately, but yes.
Oh, hey.
How's this better?
Yes.
Yes, this is better.
I would see and hear you.
I blame Firefox.
That's
Highly likely, actually.
as much as I love Firefox, I blame it for a lot too.
But do you mind gonna use?
I just reloaded the page and then it worked.
Are we reducing Z60 to 1/3 or what?
Because the people there last year all cut up into
Oh my goodness.
one of these.
Yeah.
Down the post up something.
Anyone want a sticker?
I do want a sticker.
I'll be in Portland next week.
Oh, nice.
Once we have the stickers up, we can send those around online as well.
I believe ARC has some stuff, but I'm not sure.
But yeah, the stripping down, simplifying PubSub it's a perennial agenda item, and so it is here again with us. So if you're interested in that, Ralph,
I'm just kind of curious if anyone cares really at this point.
I think it would be very useful to aiding adoption and people actually implementing it to drastically reduce the size, because
I honestly think that it would help more if we actually had some, let's say, more developer-y type documentation with the actual examples in various code bases.
yes.
I mean, digging through the specs is not going to help anyone, even if it's split up.
yeah.
But on the other hand, you know, a large part of the work has already been done by splitting up the relevant parts and cutting them up. So we did that last year, and now I'm doing some more XMPP stuff lately, as you might have noticed. This could be higher up on my to-do as well.
Awesome job with Twisted Pi 3 XMPP, by the way. Super hyped about that. I can't wait to play with that.
Have you seen my ticket already?
I didn't know. Have you submitted a? I really need to get on the mailing list, but
I'll send a link to the room.
yeah, please.
So I think we're done with these stickers. The next item on the agenda was what Ralph just said, is a recommendations, considerations document for ensuring specs are easy to implement from a developer's perspective. Which is, yeah. I don't know what we will do for this item though.
This seems like a non-protocol thing, it's a non-standards body thing, more of a kind of community support and such type of thing. We can discuss various things last meeting, potential implementation of things which are more like implementation notes. Hey, if you're implementing this, you need to worry about this thing on this with this server or with this client. This, I don't necessarily know what this looks like. This could essentially look like a wiki and some directive to the community as a whole when we post certain pages. Okay, implementation notes or whatever else you want to call them, around various apps.
So I think it should look like something that I just pasted into the room. This was my previous employment at Milgun. They basically have their API documentation, and as you can see at the top, there are tabs where you can select languages, and the examples in the code will the code of the examples will change. For example, if you search for if you click on the examples link on the sidebar and then change the languages, then you'll see that the actual implementation for those examples changes. And I think we need something like that for some of the various build blocks that we have, like Disco and Pops Up and some other things. But it's a certain amount of work that I'm sure nobody has time for. But if you're really serious about developer adoption at this point, then we should have something like this.
This is really nifty, but it would, like you said, would be a lot more work, and it might still be beneficial just to have a even some updates on how to write an XCP document is. I think it's probably XCP 1. I forget that. Just to say, here are some recommended how you make sure that your XCPs are easy to follow, easy to read, easy to develop against. Because there's a lot of stuff where it's a good technical standard in the sense that it clearly defines the problem and clearly tells you what it's trying to do, but then the way a problem is solved maybe, or the way something is read, it doesn't, it's hard to map to code, hard to map to an abstract functional or object-oriented abstraction.
So around that, what we're essentially saying is something like code samples or tutorials would be useful, right? So
Maybe.
would it be helpful? So, and these change based on the time. Zeps don't necessarily change. Potentially a version is frozen in time, but things like each identity was broken at this time, or this is how you implemented it because these were the considerations at that given time, can evolve over time. So, would it be potentially good to, if we are pointing out, for example, this is how you should be doing mock, to basically link open source implementations in some page, some wiki page or something else that may or may not be part of the Zep, shouldn't really be part of the Zep.
Yeah. So in the old version of our website, we had something that was called technology pages. That was a bit like what you described. It just explained a bit about the general topic, like for example, publish, subscribe, and then linked to the various specifications. But what I think it lacks is
a reference or an easy summary implementation.
Yeah, like a hands-on. So the Mailgun example that I showed actually gives you hands-on clues on how to make a thing work. And one of the languages on top of that could be just the actual protocol exchange. And the others could be, well, this is how you do it in a Python, using a Python library, and this is how you do it in JavaScript. And that would get people, quickly up to speed into actually building a thing. And the additional reason for this, for me, is that only so many people will want to work on the actual line protocol. And I think it's far more important that people start building stuff on top of XMPP without worrying about the wire protocol. That also gets you away from the whole discussion about, oh man, you're based on XML, that sucks. You should use JSON instead, and what about binary? These are all things that most developers don't actually want to worry about. for building their chatbot or whatever application they intend to build. The wire protocol is the least interesting part of XMPP, I think.
So this seems somewhat similar to Project Euler or something, which was basically implementation of a given problem in multiple different languages and such that people did. I think that would be valuable, potentially including links if there are good implementations out there, or brand new code just focused on that problem, or well-worded tutorials, especially samples and such. Because for the most part, when I end up implementing protocols, it largely boils down to checking for open source implementations, read their code, capture their wire protocol because their code is really a mess, and read that and think about it really hard and then write some code. So, and I suspect many people do it that way. Now, the other thing is this may need to be something of a per library thing, because the way Twisted does something is completely different from what some other Python library may do for the same thing. The data model and such are different. So we are essentially talking about implementation-specific examples of the same problem. This is how you would solve it with this library.
Yeah.
So what we are essentially doing is consult. This should, you could argue that this should really be part of the documentation of that specific library. But I think it would actually be really valuable to have that kind of documentation hosted in one single unified place, so I can look around, okay, this is how all the 5 different libraries in this language work.
Yeah.
I think that would be really valuable. I think that would help adoption. It would help me definitely in terms of just looking at a protocol really quickly and figuring out how it works.
Makes the protocol a lot more approachable to somebody who's just walking into it for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, there's that route. The other route that because this is what I've been doing, Jingle stuff that I would like to see. It's kind of more W3C-ish in terms of here's what we can define how we would implement it. Like, you're going to do these sorts of data structures. This is what you have to do things correctly, in the sense of if you do this, you have the full implementation of what is specified here. Implement however you want. Make your use case, dial it down, do exactly what you need. But if you want to implement, this is the model that was used to generate and have this wire protocol make sense that we're standardizing.
See, I like that a ton in that you should be thinking in terms of data structures and state machines and such. The only problem with this is you would need to be pretty much be assumed that we got it right in our reference implementation, essentially the reference pseudocode implementation that we are describing, which we could go on.
Well, I mean, this is one you have an implementation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, this is something I've been dealing with because for Jingle specifically, it's all about the wire protocol, and there really is very, very little implementation guidance on what was the actual model,
which is the
thing to make
hardest bit.
sense. So I finally figured it out, but it still has to be.
Did you write it down?
Sorry?
Did you write it down?
I wrote out a very high-level version that I've shared with Peter, and when Peter mysteriously gets extra time, I think it'll get incorporated into the actual Zep. He was wanting to formalize a little bit more. I was very informal with my language.
So if we thought about that as well, I mean, in my mind, that is essentially a reference pseudocode implementation, a high-level description of this is how you would implement it without really language-specific types, right? That just becomes one thing, and this is how you do it in this library and so on, can become other things. It can be promoted as, okay, this is the standard way of doing things, and these are examples of how it is.
Yeah, I mean, you end up with 3 different things. One is the wire protocol. Interesting, not as interesting, but still very important because it's where everything touches on the wire.
You have the piece that's reading the protocol, the parsers and so on.
Then you have
and
the
then you have
implementation.
the actual logic that's doing the real thing.
Yeah.
Ignoring the wire protocol so that if we in the future implemented JSON based on XMPP, right, code would still remain the same.
Right. And then the third is here are all these libraries
Examples.
and how they implement this model and how you use it. So yeah, those three pieces I think need to be there. We're really good at the first one because we're protocol people.
And so getting the models right, I think, is really, really valuable. And that's the thing I would say is more important. Right, the protocol should follow. Same for the examples.
Now, the issue with doing the implementation and doing the modeling and everything is the fact that this cuts across ZEPs. Because at the moment, a lot of the feedback that I've heard and complaints that I've heard is you have all these features and all these different ZEPs. How do they actually interact? Like, I'm implementing a message data structure in my code. How does message correction and delays and carbons, how do those fit in?
So the cross-cutting is, from a developer's perspective, a feature, not a bug, right?
Right.
Because developers will want, you know,
I was just saying,
cross-cutting.
yeah, this is important because it's not going to be an addendum to every ZAP. Like, this is going to be completely a separate thing.
It's a separate library.
Or not library, but document, set of documents. So it can't just be inside each ZAP. This has to be part of the larger. When you're working with a message, now you have to deal with correction. Now you have to deal with references. Now you have to deal with some of these things.
And just to kind of take it to its logical conclusion, if you had this kind of description, and you did what RFCs and such do for certain things, you made it machine readable. You could basically generate code based on it, and everything would be
This is
good.
why I was suggesting the W3C model, because they do have the web IDL of specifying these are what things look like, these are what you do.
Which is really valuable.
Right.
When you're implementing something, it's a perfect description of exactly what all implementations are doing, or should be doing.
So yeah, I would be all in favor of it.
What they don't have is the state machine, I don't think. It's largely data structures with web IDL, correct? APIs and data structures,
those are still
but
just
not the
described.
actual kind of flow chart or something.
Yeah, I think that's still just described. Because the web IDL is really just for like the JavaScript APIs for.
Right.
But
yeah, as an off-topic thing, I've had good success with specifying state machines using some of the libraries. Ragil being the most nicest one. As in, this is what a Ragil description of this protocol looks like. Would help me a ton, at least, in making sure that I understand the protocol.
okay, so all of that, since I was talking, I was not writing.
So in terms of actual how we would do this is basically just posting something, which could just be the current XMPP wiki, right? Or a GitHub repository with markdown files or something like that. And pointing people at it, setting an example and then pointing people at it, right? Or how exactly would this be like an actionable thing?
So
Because if we want to do this, there should be next steps.
I would say we're going to go through the next step for like the implementation model stuff. W3C have their template for doing their stuff available.
Okay.
Let's experiment. And let's pick like one thing today, define what the model would be, and then later get that written up, and just see what that would look like. And is that something that we could maintain and keep up with? Because if we can, then it's not worth doing at all.
And you're volunteering with thumbs up, jingle being the main thing. Because you have that.
So let's start with Jingle. I'd be happy to go over it and talk about that one, but the writing up is going to be a little longer than I mean, let's do the simplest thing right now, messages. How do you implement handling chat messages?
Yep. That sounds good. So
On the
that's,
client or server side?
Huh?
On the client or server
see,
side?
that's the other thing as well.
Yes.
We'd have to be able to compartmentalize kind of how to do that, make it easily searchable, otherwise we're writing a book. And you don't really want to do that.
Maybe we do, who knows?
Well, the problem with that is that if you do that, you can't just do it piecemeal. You gotta start from, real basic stuff and have that planned out.
Right.
If we're doing it on a voluntary basis right now, we kind of have to define some parameters to like, okay, how far do you explain this before you go into this XMPP or another,
Sure.
Right.
That's the problem. Messages may be simple, but they can expand. So we have to really narrow that down if we're gonna do that.
Yes. But I think let's just see what the process would look like. Sure. So right now, I'd say let's get lunch and then come back and just work through what, for a client, how would a client right now today, how does it have to handle and actually process a message?
Yes.
Because we have a lot more clients than servers. So,
I would agree with that, yeah, yes. Client implementation is the hard bit.
okay. You okay with that, Ralph? I think we're going to go take a lunch break. It's 1 o'clock here. Okay, awesome.
Have fun. What are you guys getting? Pizza?
No idea. We were too late for. I would say actually, yeah. I was on the one hand, I was told that we have lunch in the office, and I was told, well, you can't really let out external people do that because I don't know why. But I'd also given them just as a massive upper bound that maybe 20 people. So I'm pretty sure, pretty sure we could just go do office lunch, or we could go out somewhere.
That's not available, it's downstairs.
Yeah, there's that. So totally up to you guys, depending on. I think it would be totally fine if we just went that much. We can ask Michelle. Let's do it. All right, we'll be back in a bit.
Okay, cheers.
Stop recording.
The only reason I'm putting the definition there is, and I'm probably gonna volunteer to help with this sort of stuff. When I walked into guys saying, documentation is a mess.
Oh.
It took me a long time to fix that up, but that's the sort of stuff that I'm like really good at doing.
Right.
And so if obviously this will be part of the conversation.
Right.
But if you start with a good framework, it's easy to just plug stuff in.
Right.
So this way people can just fill it out. They're like, oh yeah, I've got some time and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So that's the idea to break it up into smaller parts.
Wow, thank you.
One day.
Oh, wow. The Sam's web sequence diagrams
Oh yeah,
are actually like really, really well done.
that thing's pretty slick. I use it a lot. I do not understand why I can't show this. There's a way every time. Oh, I know why. Because I can only. How do I would do it?
Drag it to the side and hold it for a bit, and it will. Is the other window full screen? If it's
Yes,
full screen, then you
it's-
can't drag it. Then you cannot drag it.
Oh, no, it's not close.
It is full screen. Click the green thing to make it not full screen, and then.
Now I can't press it.
Yosemite had the multiple apps can be full screen on the same screen. Are we sharing it?
I was trying.
At this point, just write it on the whiteboard and point the camera to it.
That's a better idea.
Yeah, really. You know what? I like that plan.
Heads up.
Back in 1 hour from that.
2 hours later. We're just leaving.
Yeah, this is like our activities or whatever that one was.
It's like what?
We had a Zep
gonna
last
work,
activity,
it's gonna work.
which was just like this.
Fuck, I can't even see.
Oh,
That's good.
Whoa.
oh, technology.
Can't actually tell what's even pointing at it.
I think it's pointing just the left of it.
Oh, no.
Yep. Don't have to use the other panel.
Okay.
I mean, that's fine. That's fine.
There you go.
Yes. Technology. This guy.
Okay.
There we go.
Are we eating here or are we heading out? Are we eating here or are we heading out?
I'm afraid he's here first. So, see if they'll want to. If not, we'll go somewhere else. And they do have the steering.